Hi there, ladies and gentlemen and boys and girls. We have a tremendous wrestling card for you today here on All-Star Championship Wrestling, which, of course, features the world's greatest wrestlers.
My little itty-bitty bruiser buddies.
United States heavyweight champion, Brazil.
The world's heavyweight champion from the AWA, Nick Bockwinkel.
The Midwest supporting, bruiser loving, positivity spreading, world's most dangerous podcast. Join former pro wrestler and promoter Dave Dynasty as he supports and promotes Midwest pro wrestling. Keep on growing with the Midwest Express. This is the Dave Dynasty Show.
Greetings and welcome to the Dave Dynasty Show. I am your host, Dave Dynasty. Thank you for joining us. We are available on all podcast platforms. And so however you do listen to podcasts and are listening to us, we appreciate it. We got a good show for you today. We've got Nick Cutler on today. For those of us in the Midwest, he's not really a hidden talent. We're fully aware of what he is and who he is and what he can do. But now people are starting to take notice of him a little bit, and I think he's got a huge future ahead of him, and it's a pleasure to have him on today talking to Ike. Some quick notes here before we begin. Remember, we constantly offer the promo with PowerSlam.tv. They have over 100 independent wrestling promotions featuring shows on their service. Over 4,000 hours of content. I am watching all kinds of stuff on there. It's a great, great service. And if you go to PowerSlam.tv and sign up and put in the promo code Dynasty, you get your first month free. You can't beat that, right? Go give it a shot. I guarantee you, you will fall in love. Now, a couple of places you can catch me and or Ike in the near future. This coming weekend on April 6th in Muncie, Indiana, Ike and I will return for DCCW, where we will be handling the live streaming and the commentary there. That is always a blast. This show is headlined by Warlord of the Powers of Pain, so it's going to be a fun show. And then on May 11th, we're also back in DCCW, this time in Portland, Indiana, in a benefit show to help raise some money for the Jay County Wrestling Club. We're going to try to fill the high school. That's the goal. They're hoping to fill the high school gym. We have all hands on deck for this. Going to be a great show. Again, we will be there live streaming and doing commentary and playing our part. That show will be headlined by WWE Hall of Famer Rikishi. So that'll be very, very cool. So make sure you check out DCCW at one of those dates. And if you are there, look me up, say hi, let's get a selfie, and I'd like to meet guys and gals out there that listen to the show. It's always a good time. And then, June 8th and 9th in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, I will be there for Crusher Fest, the unveiling of the Crusher statue there in Milwaukee. And you should be too. This is a very important event, kind of a landmark event, really. Hopefully this sets off more movements like this throughout the world, but obviously throughout the country here. It's in Milwaukee, June 8th and 9th, Crusher Fest. You can go to crusherfest.com for more information. They will be unveiling the statue. There'll be live music. There'll be beer. There'll be cigars. There'll be polkas. There will be lots of legends of wrestling that were supposed to be there for meet and greets. I'm hoping to get some comments and some interviews with some of those guys while we're there. But we will provide coverage that next week. We'll have a special episode providing coverage and a recap of that event. And, of course, I will flood social media with video clips and pictures. It'll be great. But it'll be even better if you come in person. So make sure you try to get to Milwaukee, June 8th and 9th. And if you would like me or Ike to come to your event, whether we provide a service for you, we can do commentary, we can do live streaming, I can do ring announcing, I can do lots of things. And I'm very multifaceted in that capacity. Or if you just like us to attend, maybe do some recording with some of your talent and so on. And then we will also help plug your event leading up to that appearance. Reach out to me on Facebook or Twitter, or you can email Dave at davedynasty.com, and let's see what we can work out. We don't just go to any event. We have limited time available on our schedule, And we're also selective about the events. We want to make sure we go to quality events. But if you would like to discuss, make sure you reach out to us and contact us. You can also reach out to me if you would like any graphics help for your promotion, your event, whatever it is. It does not even have to just be wrestling, whatever it may be. If it's something that I feel I can work with you on, let's do it. I can do flyers. I can do social media banners. I can do match graphics. Pretty much anything you would like. I'm very affordable, and I usually have a quick turnaround. So get with me and contact me by those same means, and let's see what we can do. Again, we have Nick Cutler on the show today, but let's do a little something, I don't want to say different, because we cover this type of stuff a lot, but let's talk a little history. How about it? The day this is being recorded and hopefully released is Sunday, March 31st. So let's take a look at an event from March 31st. This was from 1973 in Indianapolis. If you look on Facebook, I shared some pictures and some clippings from this event. And at this event, Cowboy Bob Ellis won the WWA Championship from Baron Von Raschke, ending his nearly one-year reign, the Baron's nearly one-year reign. And it was a pretty cool event. It was at the Expo Center in Indianapolis. And let's go over some of the other results here per the newspaper in the time. Of course, Bob Ellis defeating Baron Von Raschke for the WWA title. In what was billed as the co-main event, Ernie Ladd, Jimmy Valiant, and Bobby Heenan teamed up and defeated Art Thomas the Crusher and Dick the Bruiser in a battle. That would have been a heck of a match. I would like to have obviously seen that one, a six-man match there. There was a women's match. Raquel Dubois defeated Mary Jane Bull. I hope I said that right. Dubois. Other matches had Killer Cortez defeating Clem Turner, Nikolai Volkov defeating Tom DeMarco, Tom Lynch defeating Ken Dillinger, and The Beast defeating Bobby Bold Eagle. Again, that was from 1973 in Indianapolis, Indiana at the Expo Center. Again, if you go to Facebook, you can go to my page, you can go to the Dave Dynasty Show page, or you can look me up on Twitter as well at The Dave Dynasty. And I have these clippings on there. There's the ad leading up to the show, and then the results article from the newspaper. Again, March 31st, 1973, Cowboy Bob Ellis defeating Baron Von Raschke to win the WWA title. A couple other shows that I put clippings up that were happened on March 31st. The first one was in 1965 in Lafayette, Indiana. They built it as Tippecanoe Wrestling. It does not have matches, and I could not find results per se. I probably have the results here and some of my papers and things, but I did look them up. But the card says it featured Dick the Bruiser, Wilbur Snyder, Boris Volkov, Nikolai Volkov, Guy Mitchell, the Mongol, Angelo Poffo, and Bobby Manigoff. So a cool show there from 1965. And then there was also a thing that I put out there that was on March 31st in 1981. A longtime legendary referee here for Bruiser and Wilbur Snyder, Connie Marker, that was honored, so to speak, in a roast held at the where was it held? Not sure. Well, at the Mirage Shrine Club. There we go. The Mirage Shrine Club on Boston Pike. There you go. It was held there at the Mirage Shrine Club. It was a roast of Connie Marker. It was being emceed by Bob Beach and had several different people presenting and roasting Marker, including Sam Miniker and Johnny Valiant. So that would have been kind of interesting to see. I would have liked to have seen Miniker roasting Marker. Those two had to have been worked together for a long time, kind of been close. It would have been interesting to see what would have been said there. So there you go. Look, a couple of tidbits of history from March 31st throughout professional wrestling's lore and past and days gone by. Let's take a quick break, and when we come back, we will have that interview with Nick Cutler. So stick around. If you are looking for the best books, DVDs, and posters on classic wrestling nostalgia, then you want to visit crowbarpress.com. There are literally dozens of titles there, including biographies of the likes of Bruiser Brody, Ole Anderson, Ivan Koloff, and of course, Dick the Bruiser, as we've spoke about here on the Dave Dynasty Show. You want to visit crowbarpress.com for all of your classic wrestling nostalgia needs. Again, that is crowbarpress.com.
and welcome back to the Dave Dynasty Show. I am your co-host, Ike Isaacs, and today I am joined with Nick Cutler. How are we doing today?
Doing fantastic.
Hey, that's what we like to hear. Well, Nick, we'll just go ahead and jump right into it. We'll get to the nitty-gritty. Nick, tell us, where are you from?
I'm from a little city right outside of Chicago, but right across the Indiana border called Lake Station. It's where I currently live. I grew up in a little town a little further east called LaPorte, which is right around the South Bend area. So Midwest for the most part of my life, right outside Chicago. For a little while, I lived in Cincinnati for about a year, but other than that, I'm pretty much based out of this area.
Absolutely. So, Indiana man, I feel you there. I was born in Indiana as well. So, a lot of great stuff in Indiana. Probably a lot better up there near Chicago. Probably more to do.
Absolutely. I'm never at a loss for something to get involved in. So.
Right, absolutely. So, tell us what it was like growing up in that area. Tell us, were you a fan of wrestling as a kid? Did you do any independent shows when you were younger, or how did that work?
My thumb into pro wrestling started when I was 8 years old, and I still remember the very first episode of Monday Night Raw that I watched. It was the episode right after the Buried Alive pay-per-view in October of 1996. And I watched it against my will. I was actually watching something else, and my brother came downstairs to the channel. I sat there arguing with him to change it back, but as I was sitting there arguing with him, I kind of slowly started just kind of being quiet and getting entranced in what I was watching on the TV. But as far as going to any independent shows, no. I didn't know independent wrestling existed until I started breaking into the wrestling business. In my mind, WCW, and later on just WWE. Right. So fast forward 10 years later, at 18 years old, when I decided to try to break into the business and had absolutely no clue how to do it, my ex-girlfriend happened to actually be dating pro wrestling from the Indiana area, Adam Bueller.
Okay.
So when I reached out to her and asked if he could kind of start showing me how to break in, and I rode with them to a show afterwards, and it was just like a whole new experience for me. I was like, oh, wow, this definitely isn't WWE, but at the same point in time, it's still a lot of fun, and I can see where this is used as somewhat of a training ground, so to speak, to get you ready for that larger platform. So at that point, I started refereeing, and I did that for about a year while I was training. And then I made my official debut on September 15th, 2017. Been going ever since.
Wow. So wrestling just kind of hooked you in at a young age, but then independent wrestling is kind of, what pulled you farther in and kind of, made you kind of realize how awesome the industry is. So when wrestling hooked you, who did you train with? Who did you go to get that training, and what was that like?
Well, initially I was just rolling around in the ring with Adam. Right. And then once I realized that this was not going to be sufficient as far as teaching me everything that I need to know, I started going to Windy City Pro Wrestling in Chicago and was pretty much finished off and polished and trained by Steve Boz, who is a huge name in the Chicago area. I've obviously done a ton of other training with Ring of Honor, with Evolve, with Monster Factory, a plethora of, I did Harley Race's camp in Missouri. So I've definitely invested in myself and pushed to hone my craft as well as I can, which is how I've gotten to where I've gotten so far.
Right. No, absolutely. So like you said, you kind of started out slow with the wrestling, and then with the training, I should say, and then you kind of got more serious into it with, other people. So tell us, you mentioned obviously when you started wrestling, what was your first match like? Obviously a lot of people will say that it's a little rough around the edges, but can you give us a little insight about what that was like, when that was?
Well, my first match was a battle royal. So it was for EWF, which is now Heroes and Legends. It was Marion, Indiana, and it wasn't a crap fest by any means. And then locally there was a promotion that ran weekly shows at this flea market, and once a month or once every other month at an actual venue. And so I was wrestling at the flea market every week, and those were definitely a little looking back at it. But a lot of people will say the same thing, where you think that you've got it, and then at some point 5 or 6 years into your career, it kind of clicks and you go, oh, wow, I didn't know shit. And that's pretty much what happened to me, only it took a lot longer. I went through almost multiple phases where it was like, man, I'm doing this, and then I kind of stop and I look around me and I'm like, this isn't good enough, I need more training. And so that was about 2 years in, and then at about 5 years in, I was like, I'm pretty decent. And then started looking around again, and I'm like, but I'm still not where I want to be, something's not right. And then it's a continual learning process.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's, I remember who it was that I talked to who said it like this, but wrestling is, if you stop learning in wrestling, then you stop wrestling. That's what they said.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And even now, I'll go back, and because obviously being a wrestler, I spend a lot of time watching wrestling. And you get some people that are the exact opposite. They're like, oh, I wrestle, I don't want to watch it. It's almost like taking work home with you. I was like, not me. I am glad that I still possess the capability to turn off the worker switch, or at least mesh it with the fan aspect of it, because I can still watch wrestling and enjoy it as a fan, but simultaneously watch it to try to learn. And that's what I do. I spend almost, I work in an office doing computer work, so while I'm doing computer work, it's almost like I listen to the WWE Network. I can't really watch it, but I sit there and I listen to it, and I'll glance at it, and I'm looking, and I'll be like, oh, wait a minute, look at that. Or I'll write something down, like, I really liked that, I need to remember to do that again, or look it up later, or do this, or do that, and I've been doing it for 11 years. You never stop. If you ever think that you know it all, you should probably go and try to learn some more.
Right, absolutely. I think I've heard so many people say that, and I think that's probably the truest thing about wrestling, is that it's a fickle beast. But if you keep learning, you keep growing for sure. And so I guess to kind of move into another aspect of wrestling, we talked a little bit about the beginning of your career, but right now, independent wrestling is, I would say, probably one of the hottest it's ever been in a long time.
Absolutely, I would agree.
So what would you say is the best and the worst part about being in independent wrestling?
The best part about being in independent wrestling is being home to see my daughter and my wife and my kids. I'm gone on the weekend, but I'm usually pretty close. If I am far away, I'm still pretty much within a day's travel. That's really the best thing. For me personally, just within the last couple of years or so, I finally gotten to the point where I'm making money. I'm not losing. I'm not coming out of pocket. I'm not breaking even. If I don't make money, I stay home. And I'm glad I finally got to that point. So that's exciting for me. As far as the worst thing about it, obviously, even though I'm making money, it's not the type of money that I could be making, the type of money that I want to be making, the type of money that I plan on making someday. Secondly, for me, and this might not be for the independent wrestlers at large, but for me personally, it's a huge pet peeve of mine when people don't take this seriously. When you've got people who don't look the part, who are out of shape, who, you look at them and you see that they don't spend any time in the gym. They have a pair of tights and maybe they went to training, but they don't train anymore, but they really, really should be. And it's just a situation where that drives me absolutely insane. It used to get me a lot of heat because I used to not be able to vent as much as I really, I used to not be able to keep it to myself, so to speak. And I would just vent things, and it got me a ton of heat at a lot of places. And I finally had to teach myself to just bite my tongue, and one of my buddies just, pin me, pay me, and I'm happy to be here. That's pretty much the model that I've adapted. Pin me, pay me, and I'm happy to be here. And I see shit all the time that just drives me absolutely insane. I just keep it to myself because at the end of the day, they're going to continue to do what they want to do. Nothing that I say is going to change that. So I shouldn't even really let it bother me, but I love what I do so much. And in my mind, it's just like, if you're not serious about this, you're not actually trying to make this as a full-time deal, then why are you even doing it?
Right.
And people, because it's fun, because I love it. Yeah, it is fun, but I would never do it for free. I would never do it with the understanding that, hey, you're never going to make it to WWE, or you're never going to make it to Ring of Honor. You're never going to make it to any place where you can wrestle for a living, but continue to do it and just beat the shit hurts. Like, wrestling hurts.
Right.
So why would you continue to choose to put yourself through that and just so you could be a local hero? Like, that's not enough for me. Like, I'm not going to spend time away from my family, and I'm not going to put my body through that physical stress if I didn't think that it would one day lead to something. And when you get guys that literally will sit there and say, oh, I have no intention of making it to the next level, I'm just, doing it because I love it, and I'm just like, well, then get the hell out, please.
Right.
Love it from the sidelines. Love it from the crowd. Love it from your couch. But don't pollute a roster that has guys like me on it who live and breathe what we're doing, not just in the ring, but outside the ring, to put on this picture of who I want to be perceived as, and then I'm working on the same shows with guys who are 150 pounds and skinny fat and haven't dieted or lifted a weight a day in their life.
Right.
It drives me insane.
And actually, that's it's funny that you
and that's not to say that every wrestler needs to look like a bodybuilder. I mean, I don't look like a bodybuilder, but when you look at me, you can tell that I'm in the gym. You can tell that I put effort into my character. You can tell that I tan. You can tell that I try to make myself look like a star. And it is so evident that so few guys put that effort into themselves. They just show up and do what they want, and then they leave, and it just drives me insane.
Right. No, I understand. And also, this actually kind of leads into something else I was going to mention, is you're obviously a very strong supporter of fitness, and you're actually a personal trainer, aren't you?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So, and I think we saw a little bit of that personal trainer come out a little bit.
Absolutely, yes.
Which is not a bad thing. You are correct. If you're going to be in this business, you definitely need to at least try to look the part. I feel like that's definitely an accurate statement. But to go back a little bit, to kind of talk about your character a little bit, and you even mentioned this a little bit with playing the part. You're a little bit of a throwback, I feel like, with your kind of how you are and what you do. You're a bit of an old school style heel, if I should say. Would you agree with that?
I don't make the distinction of whether or not I am a heel or a babyface.
Right.
And that's something, it's something I've done. And then Cody Rhodes actually put out a tweet the other day, I don't know if you saw it, if you follow him, that he said that he doesn't believe in the term heel or babyface anymore. He portrays himself. And the fans dictate whether or not he's good or whether or not he's bad. Because, I mean, the fans are smarter now than they were 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago. So that whole good guy, bad guy facade. So if I walk through that curtain and I'm going to act like myself, no matter what. And there are some people that like that, and there's some people that don't. To your point, yes, I can come off as a very arrogant person. And so I just give off a prickish aura. So people tend to not like me unless they actually know me. And then you throw in the fact that I refuse to shave my legs, and you throw in the fact that I refuse to shave my chest, and you get the hairy idiot chants and the shave your chest and shave your back and the et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I tend to go more towards that heel side, absolutely.
Right.
But occasionally you arrive in Bizarro World and people will get a pop out of it.
Absolutely. And speaking of, I guess you could say, prickishness, I want to read you just a brief quote, and let me see if you know who I'm talking about. Someone once quoted you as saying that you are a no-good shit weasel. Does that ring a bell?
Absolutely. Jim Cornette. Yeah.
That's right.
I love Jim Cornette. I He calls me a no good shit weasel out of love. That segment that I ran with him in Heroes and Legends was one of the personal highlights of my career. I didn't realize how much I loved Jim Cornette until I started watching some of his shoot videos.
Right.
And as I'm watching these shoot videos and I'm listening to his viewpoints, and I'm just like, Jesus Christ, it's like he's changed in my mind for the last however many years, but just keep to myself now because I don't want any heat with anybody. But he's in a position where he doesn't have to give a shit, so he can say all this stuff. I'm just like, wow, like this is exactly how I feel. So when I found out I was doing a segment with him, I was tickled pink, and I remember telling him afterwards, he had said something to me, and I was just like, look, Corny, if you want to put me over on your podcast, go ahead, but I'll get an even bigger kick out of it if you shit all over me. And he evidently took it seriously because I sat there and I literally woke up to a bunch of notifications on my phone from people telling me that I was talked about on Cornette's podcast. When I pulled it up and listened to it, I was like, he did me right. So
Jim Cornette
sold a lot of T-shirts too. So
I feel like you have. Do you have T-shirts that say "No Good Shit Weasel" on them?
Yes, I do. If you go to my online store, PROWRESTLINGTEES.com/Cutler Coalition, there's a shirt that says, I was once called a no good shit weasel by Jim Cornette, so I made a shirt about it. And there's a tennis racket on it. So
I'm 100% buying one of those shirts, and I have no shame about that.
Cornette and his wife both have one too, so
that is fantastic. Oh my God. Anyways, Jim Cornette's he's just a legend. Like, Jesus Christ, that man is something else. But back to Nick Cutler. So one last thing that we kind of want to do before we kind of wrap up here. We like to get to know the wrestler outside the ring as well. So tell us a little bit about who Nick Cutler is outside the ring, maybe something like a hobby that you have that fans maybe not know about.
I am absolutely head over heels, totally in love with my daughter. And I don't think that that's something that the fans don't necessarily know about because my love for my daughter has completely taken over my life. When my daughter was born was when I finally became okay with the possibility of not making it to WWE. I know that myself and a lot of guys have a do-or-die attitude, and we view this business as make or break. You know, if we don't make it to WWE, then our career was a waste. Right. And that's how I felt. And I let my success in wrestling dictate my happiness in the rest of my life. And I did personal mindset coaching with Jared Ganem. I highly recommend him to anybody as part of the Inner Squared Circle. If you're a worker listening to this, or even just an everyday human being who just needs help with mental coaching. Between coaching with him and my daughter being born, it made me do a complete 180. And I had to do a little self-evaluation of myself. And I was like, say you didn't make it to WWE. You have this amazingly beautiful little girl who I shouldn't have been able to have, but by the miracle of God, I did. And I have a wife, and I have 2 boys with her, and I've done so much stuff in my career that countless people have not been able to do. How many wrestlers, no matter how talented, no matter how big, no matter how strong, have wrestled on Monday Night Raw? Not very many,
right?
But I have. What it was is what it was, but no one can ever take that away from me. I've traveled across the country. I've worked with some of the absolute best legends in this business. I've been put over as far as my working skill by some of the best legends in the business. You know, Harley Race looked me in the face and said, I have everything that it takes to succeed in this business. I just need to keep doing what I'm doing. No one can take those things away from me. So I would consider myself a dad who happens to wrestle at this point, as opposed to a wrestler who happens to be a dad. And when that day comes that I get my chance with WWE, if they decide to pull the trigger, awesome. But if they don't, it's their loss. And I'm just going to continue to help people and to take care of my family and do the best that I can.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the best thing you can do, and that's super inspirational first and foremost. So if you've ever thought about being an inspirational speaker, I definitely think you could do that too.
It's definitely something that I've considered, so...
100%, I would believe it. I feel very inspired. But I guess one last thing for you, because I know that everybody out there who's listening does want to keep up with you and see what you're doing next. And I mean, we all know you're going to do big things, of course. But where can people follow you? Where can people keep up with your business in wrestling?
I am on Facebook as Nick Cutler, Instagram, Cutler Coalition 88, Twitter, Cutler Coalition, Snapchat, that is NCUTLER, Cutler 8869, and my personal website that has all of my dates on it is cutlerscorner.com, and you can get all of my merchandise at PROWRESTLINGTEES.com/Cutler Coalition.
All right, folks. So I guess this is the part where everybody goes out there, everybody goes and likes all of his social medias, and everybody does all that good stuff. It's also the part where I go buy a Jim Cornette t-shirt from his Pro Wrestling Tees site. But first and foremost, Nick, thank you so much for coming on here and just chatting with us and giving us a little insight into your wrestling career. And we definitely appreciate your time, of course.
It's been my pleasure.
You've heard him here on the Dave Dynasty Show as a guest and as host of the monthly Graham's Gallery episodes. And now you can hear his stories. You can own a copy of Confessions of a Big-Time Wrestler, the audio book from Dr. Jerry Graham Jr., former multi-tag team champion in WWA and owner of Bruiser Bedlam. You can hear all of his encounters with the various wrestlers, places, and promotions he's worked as he tells about his colorful, long, and illustrious career. You can have your own copy for only $25, and that includes shipping and handling. It's very simple. Go on Facebook, look up Jerry Jaffe, Jaffe, send him a private message, and make arrangements to purchase a copy of Confessions of a Big-Time Wrestler now. You will not regret this purchase. And welcome back. I am Dave Dynasty. This is the Dave Dynasty Show. Thank you for joining us again this week. Kind of a shorter episode here. We got we had that interview with Nick, and he is a very, very busy man between wrestling and his personal training and different things he does. So he had a very, very small sliver of time that we were able to squeeze him in, but we had to keep to a time restraint because of Nick Cutler's busy schedule. So things are a little shorter on today's episode. Hopefully that did not take away from your enjoyment and the content we provided you. Again, check us out April 6th and May 11th for DCCW. You can go to Facebook or Twitter. Check out DCCW Indiana for all the information on those events. Contact them for tickets. They do sell quick. They packed the house at the last show we were at. No reason to believe they will not pack these two as well. And again, I will also be June 8th and 9th in Milwaukee for Crusher Fest. Go to crusherfest.com for more information and try to get there to that event. It's a very, very important event. Go to powerslam.tv, enter the code enter the code Dynasty to get a month free. Try them out. It's a great service, a lot of great content on there. And there are other ways you can support the Dave Dynasty Show. We give you the show for free every week. All the content we put out there, all these stuff on social media we put out there, all these great interviews and history, and so on and so forth. But we can't do it without the support from our listeners. Because it does cost things, right? For our hosting, for our equipment, for these trips we take, all kinds of things. I mean, we're going to give you this road report from Crusher Fest. Well, this costs money, and these things have to be. They only happen because of people like you and what you can give to the show. And don't think that you don't have much to give and it won't make it back, because every cent helps this show remain free, remain running. One of the best ways that you can support us is by going to ProWrestlingTees.com/TheDaveDynasty and buy one of our shirts. You get a cool shirt. We get some money off of that. There's the Dave Dynasty logo shirt. There's the Midwest Express shirt. And there's also exclusive shirts for Izzy Slapowitz and Dr. Jerry Graham Jr. So go check those out. ProWrestlingTees.com/TheDaveDynasty. And if you would like to make financial contributions, and we really do appreciate it when you do, You can make a single contribution by going to paypal.me/The Dave Dynasty. Everything helps. Anything you can give would be very much appreciated. And if you would like to be super cool and give ongoing monthly contributions to the show, go to patreon.com/The Dave Dynasty. Again, these types of things are what keeps the show running and keeps it for free. Please don't take it for granted what we're doing here in the amount of work. I know you guys listen and you get, an hour or so every week that we give you, but there's a lot more that goes into it besides just the hour or so of audio. There's a lot of time spent with these interviews, scheduling them, recording them, following up with people, chasing down people, tracking down information and numbers and contacts for trying to find people that you don't hear everywhere else. And then there's the editing and everything else that goes into it. There's a lot of hours that go into it every week to give you this free show. So please give back and help us out and support us. You can also go to Amazon.com, highspots.com. If you do any shopping at those two sites, go to our site, DaveDynasty.com, and at the top there are links that you can click, take you to those two sites, our affiliate links, and we get a little kickback. It costs nothing extra for you. But you can also go to DaveDynasty.com and find those links for PayPal and Patreon and everything else on there. Make sure you subscribe to us on social media. We're on Twitter. We're on Facebook. We're on Instagram. And make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. We are so close to once again being monetized on YouTube. We're very, very happy about this. So tell your friends to subscribe to us so that we can hit that mark and get monetized on Facebook. Thank you for joining us this week. We'll have another episode for you next week. Who knows what it'll be? I can guarantee you it'll be intriguing, right? It'll be interesting. We try to keep it up there. It might actually be a day or two late next week, only because of the Muncie show that we will be doing next weekend on April 6th, the DCCW show. So it might be a day or two late, but it will also have a review and a recap and some following up from that event. So once again, thank you. I am Dave Dynasty. This is the Dave Dynasty Show. Until next time, be good, be safe, and keep on growing.